Hi everybody, this is Kevin and welcome back to another video. And today I'm going to be sharing my initial thoughts on Yakuza Like a Dragon now that I'm 15 hours into the game, still on chapter 4. So I have a feeling I have a long way to go, and I figured why not just do this initial thoughts video and then come back in another month or so and do my full-on review. So the best way I can describe this game is that it is a turn-based RPG crossed over with Grand Theft Auto taking place in Japan. And that's literally it. And doing a bit of research, apparently this is Yakuza number 7, and that means there's been 6 prior Yakuza games. But me being a noob to the franchise here, this is my first game in the series. I don't think you need to know anything about the prior games. Maybe it helps if you played them, so you can pick up on other references, or if there's cameos from other characters, that could be helpful. But the games play differently, as I just described them as Grand Theft Auto in Japan. That's what the first 6 Yakuza games are like. Whereas this obviously has that, but it's got the turn-based battles. It has a bond system with your party members, similar to Persona. And you can also advance your personality traits for the main character, Ichiban Kazuga. And certain side quests and mini games are locked behind what your level is for, your intelligence, your kindness, knowledge, charisma, etc., etc. There's all sorts of things to max out, and they can advance by, buying or selling certain items, taking part in a certain side quest, bonding with your characters, with your party members, and I like that. And if you're a fan of, the Persona series, obviously this is from Sega, and Persona, Sega, and Atlas. Those things go hand in hand. And there's actually quite a few references throughout the game to other Sega properties, such as Sonic. There's a mini game where you can race go-karts and you pick up rings. You can also buy CDs in the game. A few of them are the Persona songs. And I think there was another Yakuza song. I think it was called Friday Night or something. Pretty good song. I don't know which game that was from, but I think I read it was from one of the prior Yakuza games. So lots of cool references there. And I would imagine there are plenty of references for those who have played Yakuza 1 through 6. So, let's talk about the characters. As of right now, I'm just going to talk about the party members. As of right now, I have, obviously, the main protagonist, Ichiban Kazuga. There's also Yu Namba and Koichi Adachi. And one thing I really like about the characters here is that they're all over the age of 40. And the traditional JRPG has you as a young adult. In most cases, you're like a 16-year-old. Some games you're 18. Some games you're in your late 20s. But we'll just say, between 16 and 25, that's usually the demographic for the JRPG hero. Famously in Final Fantasy X, Auron's in his mid-30s and he's an old man. So here you are playing a bunch of 40-year-old men. I think Adachi is actually 59. And one of the ongoing gags of his character is like, I was so close to get my pension, and they had to fire me because he's a former police detective, and he got fired for story reasons. We're not going to talk much about the story in this video, but that's one of the reasons. And it's just funny. The guy's almost 60, and he's one of your party members. And after battles, he'll grunt and do these stretches, and it's just so funny. So I love the cast of characters, and the game actually takes place in the year 2019. That's when the game initially released. I think it got localized in 2020, but as far as the Japan release date, it was 2019. So it's cool that you have, current year at the time references. And again, not to spoil much of the plot, because if you haven't played this game before, you definitely want to experience it for yourself. But the first chapter sort of acts like a prologue, and then there's a great time skip. It's close to a 20-year time skip. And Ichiban has been away from the outside world for some time, so there's a funny gag of him learning how to use a smartphone and adapting to the world some years later. So I like that. And Ichiban constantly references Dragon Quest. He's a big fan of Dragon Quest, hence the title, Like a Dragon. And that's how they incorporate the battles into being, turn-based. You'll find enemies in the overworld, and then the screen will transition, and you'll fight the turn-based battle there, where you can do your attacks, you can, of course, do your special attacks, and they incorporate magic pretty well into this game, in that for Nanba, his story is he's a former nurse, so he has some healing abilities. He can do that. There's one ability where it's like power nap, and he gets out a piece of cardboard and rests for his turn to recover some HP. But in particular, I like how they incorporate the magic with him, how he can use Pyro Breath, which is like your fire elemental attack, except for him, you know, he takes a swig of booze, spits it out with the lighter, and essentially breathes fire. So it's really cool they incorporate things like that. Another thing I really liked about the combat is that while it is a turn-based RPG, and you could theoretically just mash X to work your way through random battles, when you get to the boss fights, you want to think things through, and when you do special attacks, you are prompted by either mashing square to do more damage, or by waiting for this circle to enclose and then hitting triangle at the right time to do extra damage for your moves. And also, you can defend by pressing circle at just the right time, and it's not like the enemies won't do any damage to you, but the damage they will inflict will be greatly reduced. So I like how the game keeps you on your toes like that. It's definitely reminiscent, for me anyway, of Super Mario RPG and the Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga game on the Game Boy Advance. So I figured I'd mention that as well. Even things in the items, the equipment, it's all down to earth. Like, obviously we're not going to wield swords and shields. So Ichiban has this epic moment where he sees this baseball bat in the ground and no one can pull it out but him. And he's like, I'm the legendary hero. I have this great sword and I can do battle. There's also job classes. I haven't unlocked any others than the default ones I have. With Ichiban, he starts as the freelancer and he can just use his fists. But then once he finds this bat, the the sword and the stone, if you will, and he pulls it out, his job class changes to hero, and you can mix and match them. Obviously, some have different moves, some have different stats, etc., etc. So he has freelancer and hero. With Nanba, his job class is the homeless man. And like I said, he's a former nurse who, you know, is down on his luck, became a homeless man. Again, I don't want to touch too much on the story because I want you guys to experience it if you haven't already. But if you have played the game, you already know. And I just love how they have that. He's the homeless man. And then Adachi is a detective. Right? And, you know, it's just so cool. And the different weapons they can equip. Like with Ichiban, I told you before, as freelancer, you can go barehanded and just punch people. But when you change him to hero, he can equip, you know, a baseball bat, a steel pipe, a piece of wood. It's called like the rough lumber or something. He beats over a piece of wood, things like that. With Nanba, he can equip an umbrella, a broom. He's like beating them with a broom and stuff. And then Adachi wields like a baton. And as you encounter the enemies on the overworld, it transitions to battle, but you're still in the same vicinity where you fought these enemies, so you can fight them in traffic. And I actually got an achievement where if you attack an enemy and you knock them down, one of the cars, you know, the traffic's still going. One of the cars will run the enemy over. It can also run you over, and you can take damage. And that's actually one of the achievements or trophies, if you will, on the PS4. So that was pretty funny. I wasn't even trying to get it. I was just having a battle, and it just happened. So there's that. Before I was just going on about the equipment, but same thing goes for like what you can equip for defensive properties. You know, a straw hat, the loafers, leather shoes, whatever. There's all sorts of, you know, things you would find in the real world, so you're not wearing the chainmail and stuff like that. So our heroes are looking for work. As you go around the overworld, there's all these side quests. They call them sub-stories in the game that you'll run into. In particular, I thought this one was really interesting. Not really interesting, but actually quite funny, really. Is the Sujimon Professor, which is a blatant reference to Pokemon. And that's your way to record enemies in your data log and find out their weaknesses and where you can find them if you want to grind for a certain item they drop or whatever. And the enemies in this game are so funny. Like, one in particular, the guy's out there, he's wearing his, you know, his pajama robe or whatever. He'll flash you, and you'll see his undies. Another guy will start doing a funky dance. And it's just the variety of the enemies is so funny. And when you meet the Sujimon Professor, he's like, you could be the very best like no one ever was, you know, referencing the first Pokemon song. So that was great. There's a lot of mini games. and I've only scratched the surface with them, I think, but they're really fun. A lot of times in JRPGs, they always have mini games, but you know, you'll find one or two that are fun. But so far in Yakuza Like a Dragon, all of them have been fun, and in particular, the can collecting minigame, I spent over an hour doing it, trying to get all the rewards and, you know, advancing there. But we'll start with that. So can collecting, again, Ichiban is trying to rise up in the world. He's hanging around Nanba, the homeless man, so you can already assess the situation for yourself. He needs some money. He needs to grind for some gold, if you will, if we're talking Dragon Quest. So you go around riding a bicycle, collecting cans, and then you can trade that in for money, trade it in for other items. And it just controls really well. It's really fun. The music that's playing, just the animation of Ichiban as he's pedaling as fast as he can.
That's the mark. What a haul!
There's another one called Dragon Kart, which is obviously Mario Kart, but you know, the Dragon Quest spin on it, and that controls just as well as Mario Kart. Like it controls so well, man, as like a racing game. Lots of fun there. There's also one where the side quest is great, man. Ichiban's walking by the movie theater, and the guy who owns the movie theater is like, "Oh, these kids these days, they don't appreciate the classics. Come on, it's on the house. Why don't you come watch this movie?" So you're watching this movie, and the goal is to stay awake. There's these rams in the background for the minigame that are, it's, you know, like the sheep that you have in your dream that cause you to fall asleep. And Ichiban's fighting to stay awake during the movie. And you gotta match the buttons, like, you know, square, triangle, circle, X, the directional pads. And you stay awake. And honestly, I've watched 2 movies so far. They're pretty entertaining. Like one of the movies is about the cyborg chef or whatever. And during the first instance, the movie theater owner falls asleep, and Ichiban's like, "Yeah, this guy was telling me that these kids these days don't appreciate the old movies, yet here he is falling asleep."
Shit, movies make me so sleepy.
So, later on, you can unlock the bonds with your party members, and you can take your party member to the bar, have a drink, listen to the story there, take them to the movie theater, and that advances your bond. And similar to, you know, the Persona series, the higher the bond level, the more effective they are in battle, and things like that. Like, they'll do follow-up attacks. So I really like that. And that's another thing, too. In the bar, you can do karaoke, which is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that as well.
You're killing it!
You by my side, your tears stayed eyes, rouge running down your cheek, but baby tonight, everything's alright, as long as you're here next to me, my sweet babe. Now let's let go of our past and our future. This night has room for only 2, you and me, so come and see. I'll show you paradise tonight. Not just one kiss, not 2 kisses, not 100. I've got a full clip of love for you, baby. Hold on to me, and I swear I won't let go. I'll never let you slip away from me. Machine gun kiss, let's just fall in love. Fall in
So another thing about the combat that was hilarious is it being a turn-based RPG. There's also summons in this game, except the summons here, the way you initiate the unlocking summons is Adachi, being the horny old man he is, finds a flyer for pound mates, and it looks like it's a strip club or escort or whatever. So he's like, oh, the first one's free, they say, let's call it up. And they call the number, and all of a sudden this big black guy shows up named Gary Buster Holmes. And he's like, oh, you called? And Adachi's like, hey, where's the chick? I thought we were getting a chick. You know, it's just fucking hilarious. And the way summons work is Ichiban, using his smartphone, is able to call a friend, and there's this dramatic scene where he's like, it's time for me to call a friend! And he calls him, and they do a crazy attack.
Who do I call? You wanna fight? Time to call a friend! I summon you!
You want sudden death or suds on breasts? In service with a pounding. Thanks for calling pound mates.
But man, some of the side quests I've encountered so far, like there's one where this guy's walking around, he's carrying baby formula, right? And you know, these Yakuza members are trying to steal it from him, but Ichiban shows up in the nick of time and is like, hey, don't steal that. And all of a sudden they hear another baby crying in the distance. They're like, oh, we have this baby formula, let's help the baby. And it turns out to be the big boss of the Yakuza clan, of that particular group anyway, who's role-playing as a fucking baby. And, and he's like, don't spoil our fun. It's like, what the hell? What the hell is even going on, man? Oh, man, I thought it was hilarious. But the game has been a treat. For those who have watched my channel before, I've said this a number of times. I don't like the ultra-realistic games. I prefer my games to be anime as fuck, down to the art style, all the tropes, everything. I mean, I just got done playing the Trails in the Sky trilogy, and those games are peak anime games, if you will. And despite this game having the ultra-realistic graphics, which I'm not knocking, like, it looks great, but I'm just not personally a fan of it. I prefer the anime art style. This game has the heart and soul of an anime game, just in the way these characters talk to each other. Like, there's this particular scene where Ichiban is having a heart-to-heart with Nanba, and the one quote is like, a dream is what keeps me going. And it's fucking keto, man. Just the way he delivers the line, the voice acting. I'm playing this with the English dub, and I always like to play English dub when I get the chance, you know. Hate me if you will, but I like English dub, and all the voice actors are doing a great job. And I thought that line in particular was excellent.
Okay, I'll tell you. When I was a kid, all I wanted to be was a hero.
Huh? A hero? What do you mean?
You know, a hero who could save people. Like in Dragon Quest.
The video game? How'd you do that?
Dude, come on.
Oh, well, yeah.
What? I can have a dream, can't I? You don't have to laugh at it. A dream is what keeps you going. For me, anyway.
Ichiban, you're right.
I am?
Yeah, so I say you do it. Become a hero, just like you wanted.
Come on, I was just a dumb kid when I wanted that. It was silly.
It's not like you got any other goals right now. So why not go after the first one you had? Live your life's dream.
You're crazy. It's not like being a hero puts a roof over your head.
Sure, it's not a job. But if the hero destroys lots of slimes in the game, he levels up fast, right? You see what I'm saying?
Leveling up in life. That could work. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Why not become a hero at 40, right?
It ain't the best age to start grinding, but... Alright then. I'm ready to level up. Let's start a brand new age of heroes!
Yeah, I'm with you, Ichiban.
Let's have a toast to our new era in our new home!
Yeah, to the heroes of tomorrow.
Cheers!
you know, despite our characters all being a bunch of old men, old over 40 men, there are actually some waifus in this game, including Iroha, who works at the bar, and she's smoking hot, man. She's smoking hot, and also she's voiced by Cassandra Lee Morris, who's one of my favorite voice actors. So that's nice. But yeah, the game, I've had a lot of fun with it so far. It's definitely a recommend. I will have a review of it after I beat it, of course. But I just want to get these initial thoughts out there while they're on the top of my head before I forget about things. But you know, I'm not rushing the main story. I'm going around trying to do as many side quests as I can. The side quests have all been really fun. As I said, the dialogue's great. The gameplay's a lot of fun. Normally, you know, I guess technically this is an open world game, and normally I'm not a big fan of open world, but it's not really a big open world. Like, maybe there's more cities I can explore later on. I've only been in this one city so far, and there's areas where you can walk to, and the game is like, oh, better not go there yet, you know, because we don't have any money, so why do we want to go there? But, yeah, I definitely recommend it to people who enjoy RPGs. If you enjoy, like, Grand Theft Auto games even, you know, give this a try if you like the open world stuff. I didn't talk much about the story because, again, I wanted to save that for if you haven't played the game before, to experience the story for yourself, because I think it has really strong hook. The first chapter, if you're not interested in the first, you know, 2 hours of the game, this game is definitely not for you. But there's a lot of intriguing plot points, a lot of mysteries, a lot of betrayals already, so I'm curious to see how they all resolve, and I'll continue playing it. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below, and stay tuned for more videos coming soon. Everybody have a great day, and peace out.
Nighty night.